right, we're here in gorgeous Morro Bay, California. We're not even home yet, but we only got 1,600 miles on these bikes. The ultimate sports adventure shootout. 9 bikes, a bunch of worn out tires, and a bunch of worn out guys. Tom, how do we sort these out? 9 bikes.
Yeah, this is one of the longest tests we've ever done, Kevin, and I think this has actually just made it worse in determining which one is the actual winner, because I just spent the last hour coming down PCH thinking over in my head, you know, the attributes of each motorcycle here, and every one qualifies in some degree as being a good adventure bike.
And it seems like the last bike you rode is your favorite. Like, there's not a bad bike in the bunch by a mile. They're all, if you just wanted to pick an adventure bike and you took any one of these 9, you wouldn't be making a mistake.
And as you can see by the bikes here in front of us, it definitely got dirty. We did a nice like 30-mile or so adventure off-road, mud bath, everything, and boy, what a blast we had with these things. And again, you know, the Kawasaki with its, you know, street wheels and 17-inch tires did surprisingly well.
A few mud splash videos.
I decided to modify the windshield on the Super Adventure. So.
And you made a drastic improvement. That's the best, that's the funniest thing, right?
Surprise-wise, surprise for me would be the Ducati. Most expensive bike here. We got the S model with the touring package, and I, for one, and I know Sean agrees with me, was not happy with the handling on this motorcycle. I was a big fan of the old model. This is the first chance I've gotten to ride the new one. And the DVT engine, awesome. I like that. That aspect was really good. The handling, it just didn't want to go through a corner the way I thought it should.
Yeah, the handling's not horrific. It's just next to something like the XR, you can really feel the lack of rigidity in the steering head. You can really feel the kind of the lack of compliance, not so much compliance, but the lack of control in the suspension. Whereas it's sort of moving around more than it needs to.
And in the your mileage may vary department, John and I think the Ducati is a fantastic handler.
I'm gonna have to agree with the big fella entirely. And it might be just the difference between your weight and mine, but I really like the Ducati a lot. It was easy for me to even on the fly to switch from sport to touring. And when it's touring, it's kind of a big, soft, nice pillowy thing. But you can switch to sport. Me, weighing only 160 pounds, put it in sport, hit the twisty parts, and it did feel a bit more soft than the other bikes. You could feel things moving around a little bit more. But for me, that's kind of gives me a little bit more road feel. And after I got adjusted to it, I think I could go faster in curvy roads on that thing than any of the other ones.
And Sean, you brought up the XR, the S1000 XR, and I think the Ducati Multistrada and the XR are the closest match, right? 17-inch wheels. It's like a bigger sport bike, more roomy sport bike.
Right.
And we all loved just about everything about the BMW except one thing, right?
Kind of a deal breaker for me.
Occasionally buzzy, though.
What do you mean? It's that buzzy?
We could feel it in the bars and in the pegs. And John, you were saying at the launch, you were at the bikes you were riding at the BMW's launch, it wasn't that buzzy. So we're wondering if maybe ours is a particularly buzzy one, but it was a significant factor in a touring bike where you're going to go some thousands of miles. Whenever you open the throttle,
Right.
big time,
Or get to a corner.
those thoughts go away.
Yep.
That thing is outrageously powerful.
I also think it is one of the single finest handling street motorcycles I've ever ridden. It has so much chassis rigidity, particularly in the steering head. It's amazing flopping it back and forth. It may be a little bit slow steering, funny enough, even though it's got the big wide bars. And maybe you need to hold it down mid-corner, but it's got unflappable. It's like it's on rail. Just love it.
Kawasaki, the Versys here, was, you know, a fantastic handling motorcycle on the street.
As long as you were gentle. Right.
Yeah. It's got this little, you know, light switch throttle going on too, which you got to be careful
don't
with.
close the throttle so much, Tom, and it's not so bad.
Well, I was letting you catch up with me.
I don't remember it that way. It is the lightest steering bike of any of them, it seems like. It's fairly top heavy, but moving the bar. Tom, your first session on it, you're like, wow, the suspension's too soft, but then you sort of rode a little faster and maybe put a little less input into it, and then you seem to like it better.
The suspension's still too soft up front, and we need to adjust
but you
that.
started riding around it, right?
It has about 80% of what the BMW XR has and about 80% less vibration. It was impressive. This is our cheapest bike of the bunch here, 12.7 including saddlebags. This is a fantastic value, this bike.
Yeah, the engine takes a little while to spool up, but when it does, man, it's fun.
And we're talking about a 2,000 mile, 6-day camping and everything else ride here, loaded down. But in the real world, around town, as a commuter, stuff like that, it's awful good at that. I think for me, it's the most surprising bike here at how competent it is.
We should point out that, for that price, you're also getting less electronics. A lot of the bikes here are outfitted with electronic suspension and cruise controls and things like that.
But you're getting really good traction control.
John mentioned earlier about the Ducati and how it was easy to, switch it to touring, or once you get accustomed to their layout and design of the handlebar, buttons. But the one that is difficult, I think everybody can agree on, is that Aprilia over there.
Yeah.
You
figure out it's electronic.
Well, I mean, you're
program
pushing
it and-
starter buttons and doing all this, and then you get the cruise control, and it's blinking a green light at you.
It's a shame because aside from it's hard to decipher electronics, I really enjoyed
bike,
that
yeah.
bike a lot.
Good
I
bike.
thought it has a fantastic motor, slick gearbox, great brakes.
And that was a
Tipping
big
handles good
improvement
too.
with the suspension.
Sounds
over the last
fantastic.
Time we rode it.
Nice.
That's what I was gonna
Suspension,
say. It's-
World of difference.
it's another
electronic
big
suspension
surprise
is
for me
awesome, yeah.
because it was a pig last year with the tail trunk on it. It was just, it didn't want to point the nose where you wanted to point the nose, and this one is neutral all day long.
And it kind of does have kind of a strange, hard to operate cruise control, but the fact it's got cruise control at all, is a huge boon if you're
And it worked
going
really well
anywhere.
in the dirt. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, it is good.
For being the heaviest bike here, right? It was over 600, 602 or something.
Speaking of another inexpensive bike that's works really good in the dirt, the V-Strom is good in the dirt.
Not bad because it's kind of small. It's smaller,
Lightest bike.
lighter. Yeah.
Narrowest bike, smallest bike, skinniest bike.
Helped me regain my mojo after my mud bath.
Right, gave you that warm hug you needed.
It was fine on the street as well. The Suzuki's biggest problem is its price.
The V-Strom has some advantages, especially for smaller adventure riders, right? Easier to handle, pretty low seat, and it works quite well. The suspension I thought were pretty good, and the brakes also, but it's about the same price as the Versus without the saddlebags.
Yes.
And so then it gets to be crowding across the Europeans, and it's like, is there that much value there?
And the Versus is quite a bit physically larger than the V-Strom, but it's only, 24, 26 pounds heavier. Interesting. It's got quite a bit more motor, just bigger all around. So I think size-wise, something that feels like an SV650 maybe, V-Strom's the bike for you. If you're looking for a touring bike and something to carry a heavy load or a passenger all day long, in that same price range, you got that.
What about the two KTM models we have here? We got the 1190 Adventure and we got the Big Brother 1290 Super Adventure.
Yeah, I think we have another surprising situation after a week of riding them back to back, right? You'd think that this would tower over that, being Super Duke R DNA and the world's greatest motor and all that other stuff. And then you get on the 1190 and it feels a little sportier and it doesn't seem to be much less capable. It's definitely not quite as fast, but it's not far off either, right?
I'd draw the distinction this way. That's the better touring bike. If you had to go across America, it's got the heated seat, it's got the larger windshield, it's got a larger fuel tank, it's got crash bars.
Kind of the main thing, it's got the 1190, it doesn't have its cruise control too, huh?
That's
so that's a
right.
huge thing if you're
Cruise
going to
is
go
a big
very
thing,
far.
yeah.
So,
But if you like torque, this one has more of it.
Oh yeah, it's the motor is amazing. The 1190 is still completely adequate, right? There's no place where that bike did not do well. Twisty roads, freeway cruising, and in the dirt.
And even touring, even long distance straight line stuff, not bad.
Be better if it had cruise control and maybe a little wider seat. That seat's a little narrow after an hour or two.
But speaking of surprises, we had another surprise with the 1290 Super Adventure, which was
It float?
It likes to lie down
let's
in
say there's
puddles.
two.
Yes.
no. A couple of us experienced some high-speed wobble on it.
I'd say weave more than wobble,
Yeah,
right?
it's weave. It doesn't slap the bars back and forth. It sort of shimmies down the road. it's speed sensitive and load sensitive. So a light bike with nothing on it and a 150-pound rider, it does it right around 93 miles an hour. With me on it, still lightly loaded, it does it about 101 miles an hour. Now, you don't spend a lot of time at 93 or 101 miles an hour normally, but modern motorcycle, I don't think it should be doing that. Bottom line, loaded as it is with me on it, it took about 117 miles an hour to get it to do it. So it's not something that you're going to have just riding around on your super adventure. But if you do live in a place with open spaces where every now and then you want to ride along on smooth pavement in a straight line at a high rate of speed, this bike seems unhappy for some reason doing that.
We should tell you guys, though, we're not recommending you go 117 miles an hour, okay?
But Evans, you found the 1190 had a little bit of
it too. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We have to mention, though, the superiority of the saddlebags on these KTMs. When Evans did his little mud puddle get off, it ripped the right side bag completely off the bike.
It was this giant lake that I had to cross.
We all crossed it and we all made it through, so.
It was a lake, they got lucky.
We took the ferry across.
It was a wet napkin on the interstate, for God's sakes, Evans.
But anyways, we thought that we were gonna have to strap the bag to the bike. Turns out all we had to do was take the gear off the bike, walk up there, and ka-chunk, put it right back on, and away we went. Kudos to KTM for designing some good bags.
It's designed to break away without breaking, and that's exactly what you need on an adventure bike, because they do fall over.
And no adventure bike shootout would be complete without a BMW GS, right? That's the icon of the class. And to me, that bike just does everything great. When we're off-road, you could go like 2 miles an hour and just tractor away, just super smooth, low center of gravity. It's got shaft drive, and the windscreen is great. The motor, the liquid cooled boxer motor, has really good power now. Sean, you were saying earlier that it now actually sounds like something high performance and cool. That's a hard bike to beat.
Yeah, it keeps getting better and better. You know, they used to be skinny, lightweight, relatively lightweight bikes. And we complained because they got wider and bigger and heavier. But now, it didn't get any smaller or lighter, but it's certainly caught up. Now you're getting some benefit to having that bigger bike. You've got a much stronger motor. You've got a slightly better gearbox. You still got that unique kind of boxer twin vibe in it. It kind of whispers to you as you're going down the road. You know it's kind of something special. And it works really well. I think maybe for sport bike riding, it's very good, but the front end maybe is just a little vague for me.
Telelevers don't suit everybody. I thought it was a really good sport bike too.
If you want to talk about the GS being big, it carries its weight well. It carries it really low, so it's easy to balance, especially at low speed.
Yeah. That's a trick that all GSs have enjoyed. They've all enjoyed. They're surprising.
And it really, it wasn't unexpected, but it really stood out in this grouping, especially with full tanks.
And if we're handing out kudos for saddlebags, the GSs are neat because they've got that latch where you can keep them pretty nice and slim, and you need to pack some, you're going on a trip and you buy some trinkets and stuff, they expand outward, and so you can have a dual volume capacity. Another thing I gotta say about these adventure bikes is we have a whole bunch here with that semi-active suspension, and when you've got bikes with long travel suspension, active suspension really makes it a sweet deal because you've got the ability to soak up bumps if you're going off-road, and then it'll button things down when you want a sport ride, and so it's the best of both worlds. And
you can get on there and have it with one person with luggage, right? You take the luggage off and then you just like bloop, and you have it. It's just a preload.
Yeah. I'd say semi-active suspension isn't a necessity, but once you have it, you'll probably want it. All right, we also got to talk about the Triumph Explorer. That was nice of Triumph to get us a bike, even though they didn't have one quite in the press fleet for us. I think the thing looks rugged, like a mil-spec kind of bike. And there was one section of the trip where it wasn't like super tight and twisty, like the kind of roads we always like riding. It was more of just getting down the highway and more sweeping corners. And I had a great time on it. Comfy plush seat, good cushy suspension. And I think out of this group, I'd say that's like a really good long distance sport touring kind of rig. But when you get off-road or in the tight twisty stuff, it wasn't quite so good.
Well, I think the original Jeep from World War II wasn't that good off-road either, but it had something. Like it would just go through anything. I got that impression from the Triumph Off-Road. I got kind of a charming, not modern feel from it. but it wasn't bad. I mean, I was perfectly content to do like a 100-mile off-road day on that thing, and it's loaded down.
When I looked at that bike, when we did our was it 30 miles we did off road, fire road, up and down, ruts and stuff like that. Yeah. It was
more than 30 miles. We took the long way around.
Yeah. It was tough, but when we swapped bikes back and forth, and I looked at the Triumph, which just kind of looks big. It's got all your camera stuff on it, so it's like packed to the gills. And I was trying. I was kind of trying as hard as I could to not get on the Triumph off-road. It's kind of avoiding it. It's the heaviest, the biggest. It's one of the tallest seats and all. And but I was convinced at one point to try the Triumph for a while. And after I got going on the thing, it was actually okay. It was fine. Most of these bikes have kind of a tall first gear, and you can really, if you keep up a little bit of momentum, you can go over all kinds and kind of controls your speeds when you're going back downhill too. Huh? It was great. It was good.
I have to say one of the high points of this entire trip was the night ride into
Gualala.
Gualala. Say that 3 times fast.
Gualala, Gualala, Gualala.
So I love riding in the dark, and I was just dancing with it. You know, it was a good 25, 30 miles of just reeling in the corners. Sean was behind me, and we just left everyone else behind and just had a golden ride.
Wanted to hug each other at the end of that.
That's right.
section.
It was just amazing. We were having so much fun, and the Triumph. You talked a little bit about the squirm when you push it too hard in the corners and stuff. It didn't matter though. It didn't do anything evil, and the engine was so easy to control. It's got so much torque, and I just love the sound of the triple. And the brakes are good, and it transitions on the throttle just great. And I want to go back and do it all over again. So let's wrap this up.
And one more point about the Triumph, it seems to be really durable. Our press bike has now turned 28,000 miles, whereas all the rest of these have, 3,000 miles.
And as
maybe.
I was told when I picked it up, that it has been ridden hard and put away sweaty too many times.
Yeah.
That's almost a direct quote.
So thanks, Triumph, for getting it to us to complete this shootout. So as for the winner of this shootout, I don't think it's quite, we got a consensus here, right?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that the winner is whoever the rider is. Like, none of them are bad, and they're very different for different types of riding. The Ducati is probably the most telling on that, right? Because half of them really loved it, half of them not so much. And it was like the faster I went, the less I liked it. When I was going like a medium pace, I loved it. I thought it was maybe the best bike here. Then when I started to push on it a little harder, I was like, whoa. Whereas the XR, the harder I pushed on it, the happier it was.
But we will have to go back, do our little scorecard, fill out routine, and come up with the actual winner of the shootout. When we get home, we still got 200-300 miles yet to go. So, and it's Saturday, so we're not going to do that until after the holiday. But yeah, I know. We're getting paid triple time, right? Triple time?
Working hard all the time at Mo. Let's get back on these bikes. We got some more fun ahead of us. If you want the whole story and you're watching on YouTube, go to Motorcycle.com. Don't ask the stupid questions in the comment section. Go to Motorcycle.com. That's where the whole story is.